I'm reviving some of the best ideas from my previous podcast venture, Faux Reels, which I co-created with a friend. As I develop my content for the Questions That Keep Me Up All Night podcast, I'm drawing inspiration from those early conversations. To share a more personal side with my audience, I've curated a mini-series featuring solo recordings from Faux Reels, introducing Faux Reels one-sided conversations, a unique glimpse into my thoughts and perspectives. Hello, and we are back for another episode of Faux Reels. I'm your girl, Queen Sheba. Hey, it has been a while, and we're back. And you know what? I just want to say, I am excited to do this podcast with my best friend. This is why I say you're my best friend. I have many close friends, right? But you know, it's just crazy, like when you can be, and let me put this very delicately, because Okay, here's the thing. I know, if we stop talking today, you're still my best friend. And this is why, because it's like, you know how you have to be like bits and pieces of yourself sometimes? I'm just going to be myself. And I think that with you, I'm just like, I'm just going to be myself. And I don't care if you like it today. You might like it tomorrow, but I don't care if you like it today. And so I think that and I'm very weary. I don't say the whole best friend thing because I have really close friends to the point where like we're family at this point, and you as well. But I'm just like, you hear me, you get me, and whether you like it or not, whether you like it or not, like, you know that that's me and I'm not changing. Whereas for other people, there's times that I have to kind of like change a little bit and just so I can make them comfortable. And so like appreciate the raw, real authenticity of it. So that didn't age well. Let me give a little background. Me and a good friend had started a podcast called Faux Reels, and it was an audio-only podcast. We had several episodes, and the decision was to continue to tape until we had accumulated a catalog of 10 or more podcasts, and then we would start putting them out. Well, in the course of that time, some things happened and life changed, and that friendship is no longer. Quite ironic that I'm doing another podcast, and this podcast episode coming up is about friendship, relationships, and whether you are fake if you act a certain way in order to protect yourself from being hurt. So, of course, now I'm reviewing these old podcasts and wondering, maybe I should have talked to myself into being more protective. However, these series of one-sided conversations, because I had to delete someone out of it, is just a look at kind of where my head was going initially, and then we'll do the follow-up with the current podcast, Questions That Keep Me Up at Night. So please enjoy. And again, this is a one-sided conversation because I had to delete the other person talking. So a little weird that I'm answering myself, but go ahead and enjoy. So yeah, we here. So today we've been talking about plenty of things behind the scenes. So we're coming back to you with a banger, and we're just going to jump right into it. So we are going to be talking about feminism today. Feminism or lack thereof, or what does the word mean to you? What does it mean to me? All those types of things. And I just want to start out by saying, I think When I say I think, that means I think, I feel. It's not something that I know. I think that probably 80 to 85% of the people that think that they're a feminist, they're not. And probably 80 to 85% of the people who hate feminism, they don't even know what it is. And so I think we're just going to kind of like open it up to talk about what you think it is, what I think it is in our different societies, what we think it means, and then kind of like where we stand on those things and how come it doesn't translate appropriately into different circles. All right. So, what I'm going to start off with, which I don't think always the dictionary helps because we use our own urban dictionaries and modern culture pop dictionaries or whatever. But there's a couple of different definitions that I want to kind of go with and look at. So, feminism comes from a sociology type of point of view. And this is from the Britannica. It says, at its core, feminism is the belief in full social, economic, and political equality for women. Feminism largely arose in response to Western traditions and I'm going to say that again, feminism largely arose in response to Western, because we're going to talk about that, Western traditions that restricted the rights of women. But feminist thought has global manifestations and variations. And I just want to give a shout out to Malala, and I hate to mess this up, Malala Yousafzai. I love her story. I remember her story. Yusuf, okay. I love her story. I put my kids onto her story because I just want to give a shout out that this is someone who outside of Western world is an activist for feminism. And that's a prime example of what some people might think feminism is and what some people might think feminism is not. But I think that she is one of those that we can say is an activist. I mean, whether you can say she's feminist or not, she's an activist for women. We have to talk about, well, one, I have to talk about where I come from. And I want to get back to Malala's father being an important figure, but I'll go back to that in a second. If you think about the history of America, right? America, people were sent over from Europe and said, hey, I want you to go colonize America, right? And then America was like, no, you're oppressing us. We're having oppressive regimes over here in Europe. So when they went and they got away from them, they're like, yeah, we kind of like America. We're going to keep it and we're going to separate from you, Britain, right? So there's like this oppressive thing. They were being oppressed, right? And then so if you go back to Europe and the lords and all of those things that were going on, you had even before that, the Crusades and all of that, there was already like an oppressive type of regime. You already had religious oppression. So when there's oppression within people, within that oppression, there's going to be gender oppression as well. Oppressed people, period. Hurt people. And so I can't profess to be a historian. I don't know when within the Western society this patriarchal type of thing started. I'm not sure. But I do know that there is a long history of oppression, of religious and racial oppression that in turn probably birthed the, oppression for women. What I want to go back to is you saying that, and I did not know this, that Malala praises her father a lot. It's very important. One of my favorite movies, I wouldn't say it's Bollywood, but an Indian film about a lady who got married to a man who lived in a rural area. And due to religious reasons, there were no toilets within the household. The women had to go out at the butt crack of dawn, all as one group, go somewhere and use the toilet or use the outside. Just trying to get back to just this one part of it that coincides with her praise for her father. So we have that background, right? What you don't see very often is the father standing up for the daughter. I believe that that's powerful because in that movie, you have to see it, long story short, the wife basically leaves until she gets a toilet. It's like, listen, I'm not going out there. It's unsafe, blah, blah, whatever. And the father was very instrumental in saying, yeah, I taught her how to speak up for herself. And no, she doesn't have to. And there was a case within that story where, and we're getting off track a little bit, so I'm going to move back to feminism, but there was a story in that movie where some college kids ended up, they were out doing their business. And the father says, now, what if what if that was her? I'm not going to allow my daughter, you know. So the thing is that he stood up for his daughter. And it's very important in society, in an old society, in a new society, any society that is oppressive towards one caste, one gender, one race, or another. It's very important for those that are not oppressed to speak up on behalf of the oppressed and to have their side. So I think that I'm saying that to transition into the point of men and women can be feminists. So I just wanted us to go into, let me just put in my little 2 cents. This is not what feminism means in the dictionary. This is not what I hear people saying. This is what I think about it. Okay, because this is the Queen's podcast, okay, for reals, and we are queens and we get to say how we feel because it's ours. And I know, you know, my queen over here, she's going to kill me for this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Y'all can sit down with your feminism crap, okay? And this is why I'm saying this. We've got people over here claiming to be feminist. And then the same people that are claiming to be feminists claim to be allies of the LGBTQRX, all of that community, right? And this is not to be disrespectful to anybody in any way. If I am being disrespectful to you, I apologize, but you could also not listen. So they're the same people that claim to be allies and all this stuff. Have you ever heard of the term jack of all trades but master of none? You dipping your fingers in all this little stuff, but you don't even really know what you're dipping your finger. Oh yeah, I'm an ally. Oh yeah, I'm a feminist. Oh yeah, all this stuff. Oh yeah, Black people should have rights, and you don't even know what it is, but you have no idea about this stuff. And so my problem with that is that you've got the same people saying women can do everything men can do and don't tell us what not to do and blah, but then you want a man to get up off their seat for you to sit down because you're a woman. Help me understand how that works. You go into a sport where it's just scientific that the man is stronger than you. Don't be trying to press charges when you get your nose broken and you get your torso hurt. And don't be out here and try to switch genders, but you still want to compete. And then you get to win because your God-given strength as a man is stronger than that of a woman, but you still want to compete as a what? To me, all of those mixed in, people don't really know where they stand. Do you want equality or do you want equity? Because there is a difference between the two. I can do everything that I need to do for myself. And if I can't, I can get some enhancements to help me do those things. But I am not saying that if a man is now part of my life, that I will not allow him to be a man. Go ahead, Baba, do what you have to do. It's not saying that I can't do it on my own, but it's also saying I'm acknowledging your strength where I am not strong. And you also acknowledge my strength where you are not strong. And there are things that you're going to do as you wear, yes, I say the pants in the house. And there are things that I'm going to do as I wear the proverbial skirt in the house, right? I feel like there are roles and there is equity and there is equality. Which one do you stand on? Like you have to stand on something. You can't be like willy-nilly just like falling all over the place because you want a cause. But the reason why I brought it up is because to me it goes into this feminist thing. And so I wasn't trying to get too far into that, but I'm glad you talked about that because it shows the difference between a Western ideology of feminism and what the Eastern world is up against when it comes to that. And really what I was saying is just that to make a stand. And I believe that in 2024, a lot of people who claim to be feminist are wavering in so much so that they're an ally of this, an ally of that, an ally of this. Are they really a feminist? Are you really paying attention to what you're saying? Do you really want these rights or do you want those rights? Or you just want to be greedy and get everything that you can? That's all I was saying. So I hate to say this, and we got to wrap it up here. We started out talking about feminism and we turned it into something else. But the reason why, and I'm glad it took that turn, is because I think that's my agitation. That's all I hear when feminism comes up. I hear the blah, blah, blah. I know people from all over the world. And I think that's the reason why. Not that I'm against people, fighting for equality or equity. I think I'm more for equity as opposed to equality. And we'll talk about that next time. But it's like, come on, let's really go a little bit deeper. Let's just go a little bit deeper. That's it. Just be a little bit deeper. Because I think the thing is, in the Western world, I heard this from somebody, and this is probably not always true. It was truer a couple of years ago, that we use social media to talk about our food, to talk about our likes and our dislikes, to talk about what celebrity is part of the Illuminati now, and all those type of things. Whereas the Eastern world is like, hey, there's an uprising. Meet me here. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're talking about real stuff and they're still trying to push things up there. And for me, people in the Christian community, it's like we're putting these little cute TikToks like, what God would think of me with my bonnet on. Like, are you kidding me? Whereas in other parts of the world, that's how we're spreading the Bible. You know what I'm saying? So it's frivolous is the word. What I do want to say as we're wrapping up here is that, there's one thing within a relationship. So you and I's friendship, we decide what our terms are. We decide what are your duties within a friendship, what are my duties, and how it works for us. Within a marriage, husband and wife decide what their duties are. They decide, hey, if you're the breadwinner and I'm not the breadwinner, whatever, they decide, and they decide when those things can change. No shame. However you want to do it, right? But those are the parameters in which people can decide. But when you come out into the public, right? When you're in the outside world and then you have to negotiate with your society, you have to be mindful that, yeah, you may have a cock in this fight, but everybody else has a cock in the fight as well. And if you don't want there to be a bloody bath, you better withdraw your beak and your claws when it's time. That's all. And you have to know when it's time. Otherwise, it's going to be a bloody massacre. Point blank, period. And if you didn't get my analogy, sorry.